Welcome to Small Talk with WeCrashed. I'm Subha, a leadership and executive coach.
And I'm Hasita, a marketing strategist.
We're just two people who love to talk
and love to learn.
And this is us being curious about the world around us.
Join us.
Welcome to Small Talk with WeCrashed. I'm Subha, a leadership and executive coach.
And I'm Hasita, a marketing strategist.
We're just two people who love to talk
and love to learn.
And this is us being curious about the world around us.
Join us.
I thought we were on a break, Hasita. But what brings us back?
Yeah, I thought so too, but I think our love for the podcast is just too much.
Or is it our love for stories that really excite us? Like, guess who's back?
Adam Neumann.
Yes. And just when we spoke about how we work and WeCrashed was such an interesting watch and a brilliant piece of real life storytelling.
I swear. And I think now we have something called We Rose, which is going to be season 2 of WeCrashed, hopefully.
And he shall rise like the phoenix with the home rental community.
Is that what he's building?
Yep.
Well, good for him, man. Like, I think one of the things he has figured out is real estate. The truth is that we are sitting at a WeWork today and recording this podcast. And honestly, WeWork has spoiled us, no? I don't see us working out of any other co-working ecosystem anytime soon.
So true, so true. I think very little to do with the business model beyond a point. I think more about the personality and the identity and how he conducted himself. So maybe we'll see an Adam Neumann 2.0.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we silo people. We think that, are we the same people we were even a couple of years ago? I'm sure we are not. Right? And people do change over a period of time. And I think it's fair to say that Mark Anderson is not stupid. And he probably has access to information that, people like you and me don't. So if he's made such an investment, then maybe we just wait and watch. And we hope that Adam Neumann has evolved. He probably has.
Yes. And he's certainly not a quitter. So let's talk about that other timely episode that we had.
Oh God, we made that episode well before this whole plethora of quitting left, right and center began, no?
Correct. And we're really not talking about the Great Resignation. We're talking about a couple of very interesting ways of saying goodbye to one identity and starting on a new identity. And for those who've been under a rock for a bit,
good for you.
Congratulations. How did you do it?
Yeah, please tell us.
We're talking about the lovely article that Serena Williams wrote and got published in Vogue. Just talking about how she's decided that sometime this year, probably after the US Open, she will move on from the only real identity that she has known for herself, which is that of a very successful tennis player.
Super successful. I watched King Richard, and frankly, while the story is about Venus Williams, it's also the up-and-coming story of the underdog from a very young age, right? And that's an identity that she's owned over a period of time. She's always been the person that no one really believed in, but also kind of believed in over a period of time. And it's interesting you say Vogue, Subha, because for me, she's always been such a fashion icon. Like her cat suit was just, I think, the most iconic moment in fashion in the last 10 years, in my mind.
So true. But, really, I think about being able to say goodbye or say that I'm moving on and what she calls it on her own terms, in her own words. But the article triggered a lot of things for both of us, I know, and I think for almost everybody who read it. And it came around the same time as another wonderful farewell done in video format this time. Right. So Sebastian Vettel's goodbye to Formula One, I think, broke a lot of heart. He has such a following, and it's an interesting sport, one that I don't follow, but
it has its own ardent fan following.
Like
a lot of personal brand really in that context, right? And I think what I also liked about Vettel's goodbye was just the generally soothing nature of it, that someone who's not really a Formula One person could still listen to it and see the shift in identity that he had achieved over a period of time.
Exactly. I think that's what hit a right chord for both of us, that it didn't matter that she was this superstar tennis player or that he was this iconic Formula One driver. I think the way they chose to say goodbye and really the story or the meaning in that hey, I've been defined by something in all of your eyes and in my own eyes for a long time. And maybe that's not what I want to be doing the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And how do I move on? How do I move on? How do I convince myself that I'm ready to move on? And I appreciated that they felt they owed us as fans, as followers,
Kind of
story.
explanation, I
Yeah.
think, as to, yeah. And it's important to talk about those transitions, right? Because I think you're right. We see these people as one person or one identity. And over a period of time, they become that as well. And it's very hard to separate yourself from that notion when that's the life that you've been living. And what I found so specific about Serena's article was that it was basically 2,000 words of her explaining her choice to herself in many ways. It felt like she had to come to terms with it. And maybe because the best parts of her life had been played out on a very public stage, it only makes sense that the transition also happens on an equally public stage.
Yeah, yeah. And the irony of it, she said a couple of times in the article that I don't want to use the word retirement and it's a
Yeah.
transition and I want to call it an evolution.
Yeah.
And that's how she truly sees it. And like you said, I think a lot of it is also conversation to self,
Yeah.
right? Telling yourself that this is the journey you're embarking on. But the irony of it that almost every publication that carried the Vogue link said Serena announces her retirement.
Yeah. And in fact, what she says is that I've been evolving away from tennis. Right?
Right.
It really makes me think of a tree with all its branches.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
who we are, right? We are so
Right.
much more.
Something that she sneaked in as a small little line in the article saying that actually a few years ago, I quietly started Serena Ventures, right? A venture capital firm.
Yeah.
And I think that's great that somebody at her level of tennis
Mm-hmm.
is able to recognize and then put into action that, hey, I have other interests or I need to find other interests because I can't be doing this forever. It's physically so demanding. At some point, age, health, etc., will catch up with you. And while, yeah, sure, you could be a coach and you could be so many other things in that space, I do need to create other identities for myself. I really love that. I think you and I, we've always been kind of fans of saying, hey, I'm done with this. And then, okay, what next?
Yeah, that's our December ritual, right?
Yes.
Like literally, we get together and we do exactly that. Like, what can I chuck this year? But then also, that is such an important message for someone like me because I can be very singularly driven sometimes. And it's important to realize that even the world's most famous people sometimes say goodbye to the things that made them famous and they continue to live their life and they live their life beautifully. So it's perfectly all right.
Correct. And Vettel brings out this whole concept of there was an identity and this is how you saw me.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to pick up a new identity. And that's really a lot of what we talk about when we talk about this whole notion of can you move away from a very fixed view of the world to what we call a growth mindset.
And the funny thing is, you can, right? Like for me, Sebastian Vettel is somebody in Formula One, a big name. But beyond that, I really don't know about his play by play achievements, for example. But the fact that he's now a climate activist and he's been for a while and he's throwing himself into that a little more fully, suddenly he probably has an audience base that is seeing him as that and getting to know him from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I think when we grow, the growth is collective as well. And you only push things forward in doing that.
And just to pick up a couple of lines from what he says, there is my life off track too. Being a racing driver has never been
my sole identity. And I think that's
amazing. You would think that at that level of achievement and performance, every minute of your day, this is the identity that drives you, and you wake up thinking of only this because otherwise, how could you be so good at what you do? And how could you just do it day in and day out, something so demanding? And says, yeah, I'm a father and I'm a husband and I'm curious and I love the outdoors and there are so many other things that I want to commit my time and energy to, and kind of been there, done that, and I'm moving on. I think this is superb. I love the way both of them have talked about how no matter what, like you could be at the top of your game, but there's always something new to
Out
do.
there.
Yeah, there's always something else that might excite you, and please, by all means, go and nurture that. And it's something we have talked about sometimes, that many of those who come to me and we engage in coaching sessions, or we engage in just kind of resume and profile building, I meet so many in their mid 40s who are now kind of looking at that piece of paper and saying, damn, I didn't cultivate any other interest. I spent 20, 25 years doing this one thing really, really well, and now suddenly the joy is gone, or suddenly that whole world or that space has moved on and I've been left behind a little bit. Or I realize I need to do something for the next 20 years, and it can't be this all over again. I have to find something different, and so many are starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's how we also, as a society, we build this notion that, hey, you have to be this one identity and really good at this one thing. But the generations that are hitting the workforce now, I'm so happy to see that they don't see it that way.
Yeah. It's more of an internal skill building or a values building exercise than saying, hey, I am, say, for example, a marketing professional for the next 30, 40 years. Versus saying, I'm enjoying this today and therefore I do it. And tomorrow I may enjoy something else and it's perfectly fine to throw myself into that. And frankly, some of this messaging is very reassuring coming from people in these positions. Because I think we need more people like this to come out and tell us, hey, it's okay to move on when you've outgrown something. Even if it is the thing that defined you for so long, it's okay to say, hey, I've outgrown. And especially in the context of athletes, right? They do retire young, they do retire early because it's very physically demanding, like you said. But beyond that, life still continues, right? And
Correct.
once you get used to, and what I really like about both these people is that somewhere I feel like the fame has not really become them. It's not become them. So they can still go out, fail at a few things, succeed at a few things, and be perfectly all right. And I think that we all need that amount of grounding in life sometimes.
No, it's true. And really, sports people are leading the way in showing us that this can be done, right? Ashley Barty just said, hey, I'm number one, but thank you, goodbye. Yeah. Simone Biles said, hey, I need a break. Naomi Osaka said, it's not happening. I'm not in the mind space sometimes to do this, and it's taking a lot out of me. And while they may be, for many of us, you may think, oh, but they're in a different league. They're not. I think that's the whole point.
That they're trying to make as well. Like,
we're
human just like you, and we have multiple aspects and facets to what we do.
Correct. So if you've been in marketing for the last 20 years, or you've been doing program management, project management, it's okay if it's getting to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's totally fine. You're not an aberration. You're just very normal, very human. Just take some time to slowly build other interests if you don't. If you already have them, then awesome. Just nurture them. Give it, if you were giving it 2 hours on a weekend, give it 4 hours, give it 6, give it half a Friday, right? And nurture these hobbies, interests, and find that, hey, there's other ways to grow. My identity is not stuck to that company name or that title or that designation. And at any point, I can choose and I can grow a new identity.
Yeah, and be someone else and try on. It's like a pair of clothes that you put on.
Correct.
See if you like them.
James Clear and his famous Atomic Habits talks about this a lot, that if you kind of define that identity, that, hey, my identity is that I'm a fit person, then start building those small, very small habits that will get you there. So maybe you walk for 20 minutes a day, and then slowly that becomes 40, and then slowly you find yourself jogging, and then you're running. But start with those small habits. And why are you starting with those small habits? Because you're thinking your identity now is that, hey, I'm a fit person.
Yeah. And just that change in narrative, it's interesting, Subha, because I understood it to mean that the moment the narrative changes, everything else falls in place. And in fact, that's what happened in my case as well. When I started calling myself something else and became that over a period of time. But consciously or subconsciously, I think the moment we reaffirm to ourselves that we are somebody else, it starts to pan out. I'm sure it feels a little funny. It's like wearing a different pair of shoes for the first time. But I think you get used to it after a while. And if it's nice and if it's comfortable and if it's helping you grow, I think it's completely okay. Thankfully, the world has short-term memory today. No one really remembers who we were a year ago. Frankly, we don't remember who we were a year ago. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Just try other things.
No, it's as simple as that. He just says, hey, you want to be a fit person, then it's just small, repeated actions. Just do that one thing again and again that goes towards that identity of being a fit person, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that much we can all do.
Yeah, I mean, might as well give it a try, is the whole.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can always chuck it in these.
Yeah, you can always just roll that yoga mat right back into the shelf. Yeah.
I know. So, Subha, now that we are in the last leg of another year, God knows how we got here so quickly. So, what are we chucking? I know you're not chucking the podcast.
No, we'll be back. And I think I can already see a December episode where we talk about our identity for 2023.
Maybe we should record those internal conversations where we cry, shed a few tears, the sandwich, and move on.
No, I think our those little bit of intentionality conversations that we have, it's like, be careful what you ask for. It's like
Because you
Karan's
become-
couch on Coffee with Karan, So then we will definitely be back with our new intentions. But as for now, we're very happy that a couple of things that we were curious about are being talked about so much, that quitting isn't, or you don't have to make quitting this end of life kind of thing. It's very okay to quit. And of course, our continued fascination with Adam Neumann and Mrs. Neumann and what they're up to.
Oh God, I blame Apple TV for this. They just make very good content. It's hard to resist.
I blame Apple for a lot of things in my life. A lot of addictions, good and bad.
So yes, we will see you with the season 4. I think this was a bonus episode that even we hadn't expected to produce, but here we are, and just having so much fun with this platform. And do tell us what you think about quitting, about the podcast. Should we quit the podcast, or should we just make more t-shirts?
Please pump in your reviews, ratings, etc. to make sure we don't quit. That'll really help.
For sure.
Bye. Take care. Hey, small talkers. Thank you for listening till the very end. We love bringing these episodes to you, and we hope you enjoy them too. Please do drop in your comments, likes, shares, reviews, whatever you can do on the platform that you're on to help us reach a larger and larger audience. And that would really make our day. You can find out more about today's guest or today's episode in the show notes. All the details and how you can find us on social media is right there. Thank you and see you next time. Bye. Hey, small talkers. Thank you for listening till the very end. We love bringing these episodes to you, and we hope you enjoy them too. Please do drop in your comments, likes, shares, reviews, whatever you can do on the platform that you're on to help us reach a larger and larger audience. And that would really make our day. You can find out more about today's guest or today's episode in the show notes. All the details and how you can find us on social media is right there. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.